Hey, what's up guys? It's Cypher, and I am making a vlog for you guys today. It's probably going to be a long one because I have a lot to say. But it is regarding the Elder Scrolls Online, regarding PvP, and regarding some recent negative feedback I've been getting on my new PvP build video and the PvP video I posted with the proc sets that I was using. Now, there is a lot to talk about, so I don't even know where I'm going to start, and I haven't really scripted anything. I kind of just want to go off the top and try to lay things out for you guys in a honest and transparent fashion and kind of explain to you guys my mindset, what I'm trying to do, and hopefully this will convince the people who are against me on this to at least think about it a little bit more. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of you are very supportive, but I want to say about 30% of the people, a little bit less than that, aren't excuse me, they're not very fond of what's going on with the build. So where do we start? First of all, this build, I already explained to you guys in the build, this build is very, very destructive for PvP because it stacks proc sets, right? 3 different proc sets with poisons involved as well. And the damage output is insane when everything lands. You can literally one-shot players who are not defensive, or even defensive tanky characters can get bursted down very quickly. So the build, it's all around the armor sets. Like, the armor sets does the work for you, and I'm not for that at all. I'm very against that. If you watched my streams for the past couple of months, I've been very much against this type of playstyle because it's existed for a while. It's not new. Like, Widowmaker, Veldreth, Viper has existed for quite a few months now. And I never used it until last week when 1 Tamriel launched. I decided I was going to go get these sets. I told myself I was tired of limiting myself because you can't expect me to police myself, especially if I'm not breaking any rules, right? You want ZeniMax in an ideal universe to nerf overpowered sets and not introduce new broken proc mechanics, tank mechanics, damage mechanics, heal mechanics. You want things to be balanced. That's pretty much what you want. But when things go unchecked for so long, and we're talking severely unchecked, it becomes an issue when I start to police myself. As a solo player, I'm already at a very severe disadvantage when playing this game. This is a group-oriented PvP game, and as a solo player, I'm choosing to put myself at a disadvantage because I enjoy that playstyle. But on top of that, I gotta tell myself, no, I can't use Viper, it's too powerful. Can't use Veldreth, can't use them both. I shouldn't use Widowmaker, I shouldn't stack health on a Templar and throw Malabeth on. I shouldn't use these sets because they're too powerful. But then what happens when me as a solo player, I go out there, I go to PvP, not only do I have the really big Zerg-oriented players using these sets and trying to milk every single mechanic to their advantage, I also have small group players who are very experienced who could give me a run for their money in a 1v1 scenario, also using these sets. The game became unenjoyable for me. I was still performing well as a 2-year-plus vet PvP player, solo player. I was still performing well with the normal sets, with the non-proc sets, with the non-tank sets. I didn't even use Black Rose until not too long ago. And I was still performing well and I was happy. But it got to a point where I started noticing the power creep expand, and it became even more apparent with the newer sets that came in. If you were not using these sets, you could very well lose to inexperienced players who you usually could beat, and you were having a much harder time out there playing solo PvP. So my goal right now for the next couple of months, because you gotta wait a couple months in between every patch, and I don't think they're gonna release any major balance changes from now until January, which is when we should expect the next patch. My goal is to not limit myself. I'm gonna go all out, right? Why the hell should I intentionally gimp my builds because they would be too powerful, not healthy for the game? Why should I limit what I could potentially do because it would be the right thing to do. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm not exploiting any bugs. I am using the mechanics that are in the game. Go back 1 year. Watch all my build videos from 1 year and tell me, did I ever cut you guys short on those builds? Did I ever not give you every single detail, give you the strongest builds out there that you can go out there and feel confident with? Why should I now start intentionally making mediocre builds or not maxed out builds because it's the right thing to do? First of all, I just want to say, half the people that are angry about me posting that build, half of them, maybe more, are people who already run very similar builds and they want to keep that advantage over you. The other half run builds that are just as worse, but they don't even know that it's just as worse. In their head, it's different, and it's different enough to where, you know, they're running something that's acceptable, in whatever sense acceptable means. Listen, I don't like poisons, I don't like proc sets, I don't like mega tanks. Now, don't get me wrong. Tanks deserve to have their place. High damage dealers deserve to have their place. But if you go back a year, unkillable tanks were very unheard of. Like to make a tank that was unkillable against a prominent DPS or two prominent DPS players, you really had to invest everything into trying to stay alive and being tanky. You really had to invest. Nowadays, it doesn't take as much investment, and if you actually do go out of your way to make an actual tank, it's absurd how easy it is just to stay alive. And then on the opposite spectrum, I'm not just talking about the tanks, on the opposite spectrum, when you go out there and you want to put damage together, it is so easy to put a setup that has so much potential burst damage with the procs that are available and the damage bonus and how high you can stack your damage and crit and all that stuff. Same thing goes for healing, same thing goes for tanking, same thing goes for DPSing. All three, the holy trinity right there, it's out of whack. The entire thing is messed up, all right? We got demigods running around on Cyrodiil against players who, if you're not geared up, if you don't have the champion points, you're literally just AP fodder at that point. It was never like that. It was never like that. Sometimes it got like that, but it was fixed rather quickly, you know? Sometimes it got out of hand, but it was fixed. But even when it got out of hand, for example, we look back at Magicka Dragon Knights, they were very strong at one particular moment. Even when Magicka Dragon Knights were extremely powerful, it was never like this, right? There was always counters. There was always mistakes that were punished and, you know, weaknesses to a build. Nowadays, a lot of these builds are insane. You can't find weaknesses. And if they're there, they're very minimal. This build in particular, the one I uploaded, the one punch build. First of all, again, one punch build. I rarely ever name my builds because I know for a fact that there's very little originality in a lot of the builds that are posted out there. People have already played them, this and that, whatever. If you go back to the first day I got on the PTS, I'm not trying to defend myself. I'm not trying to say that I made this build because, you know what, to be honest with you, a couple dozen people might have played this build before I even put it together, okay? But on the first day of PTS, literally 1 hour after the PTS went live, I logged into the game. I reviewed the sets. I put on Tremor Scale on a one-hand and shield Stamina Knightblade. That is the first build I tried on the PTS and I liked it. So I said to myself, I'm eventually going to run this build on the live game. Obviously, I made some changes. I went with Widowmaker. I added Viper because I didn't have that until I farmed it. So it's not like I copied somebody. Some people started telling me that I had to give credit to other people. That's completely insane. No one is very like, unless you come up with something really over the top, something out of this world. And if you do, it usually is not a good build in the first place because anything that's good is already discovered and people are already playing it and using it because it's good. And that's how things get around. So to those people who are telling me that I copied builds or whatever, again, completely nonsense. Who did I copy? Who did they copy? Who did they copy? So on and so forth. Like it's silly. It's silly talk. I don't even know why I'm putting this much time into it. This build in particular, the medium armor, Viper, Widow, Tremor Scale setup. On that video, it's obviously a bunch of highlights, and it shows like the best of the best. I've only played this build for like 2 days. It shows some highlights from the 2 days that I've played the build, so I could have gotten better clips over time as I get more experience with the build. I do want to say though that this build you got to remember it is a medium armor build, and we all know how much more powerful heavy armor is in the current meta. If you go and put this build together and you're not an experienced player, sure, you might burst someone down every once in a while, get some really easy, cheesy kills, but a lot of the times you're going to find yourself running out of resources really quickly and getting killed because you are in medium, and the current divide between medium and heavy is so huge. And you will feel that. If you go out there and you run this build and you usually run heavy armor and you start running medium, you will immediately tell the difference between your resource management, your sustain, and your survivability. It's going to be a completely different perspective. And some people, I guarantee you, will not be able to perform with this build. Does that mean this build is not powerful? No, it's powerful. It's over the top. I don't agree with the build, but I'm putting it out there because I'm hoping that ZeniMax will start seeing the builds I put together, these really over-the-top crazy builds, and see what a player like me can do with these builds. And I'm gonna try my best to make the strongest builds I can put together. I'm not gonna limit myself out of some weird moral conduct. That's not gonna happen anymore. All my builds from now on are gonna be min-maxed, they're gonna be outright powerful, destructive, and insane, in hopes that ZeniMax sees the build, sees the mechanics I'm using, and tries to adjust the PvP balance around what a min-max experienced players can pull together. I want to say right now, the next build I'm putting out, it is going to be a health par build. Templar, Magicka Templar, really high health value, really high burst with Blazing Shield, and really insane survivability slash tankiness. That's the shift I'm going to go to. And then after that, we'll move on to other classes and make some insane builds. And we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep making these crazy, over-the-top, stupid, powerful builds in hopes that ZeniMax could see the mechanics that are very powerful and over the top. Because when I don't do that, when I go out there and I intentionally gimp myself, a lot of people just assume that that's what's powerful. That's the best thing out there. And that's not true. There are things out there that are a lot more powerful than what I put together. I put together things that are fun for me. So I hope you guys understand. I hope you guys agree with my decision. If you don't, that's fine. Leave a comment down below, let me know. Does this mean I'm not going to be making, you know, build videos that are not just fun or strong or whatnot? I still will do those builds from time to time. But right now I'm shifting my focus. I'm going to try to show you guys just how far things can go with the current system and how broken the balance is in this game. I do want to say that everything else in this game right now is going so well. 1 Tamriel is such a huge and impressive update that's helping the game grow tremendously. And I like what they did with 1 Tamriel. But the PvP balance, the PvP part of the game needs some love. And I'm hoping 2017 is our year for balance and PvP updates and battlegrounds and arenas, whatever they put in. I'm hoping that's our year, and I'm gonna try to do my part in showing you guys what the issues are in PvP balance with these crazy builds, and hopefully ZeniMax notices as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you agree with what I have to say, if you want to see more, vlogs from me, just face to face or face to computer, whatever, leave a like down below. Show your support. I need it more than ever. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.